What up? What up? So first of all, yo, I'm sure most of you got him. I think all of you probably got him, right? I mean, how do you not get him? I got him on accident. I promise you, I didn't try to get Morbius. I don't know how I fucking got him. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, so I played with this guy a little bit, just like a few matches, just to get an idea of what he feels like. I can just tell you, just by looking at him, you can tell. It's just like he's godly, bro. I'm just gonna tell you that. So, alright, first of all, if you don't understand him, I'm just gonna explain him real quick. I mean, he's very easy to understand. Look how, I mean, this is crazy that I'm even like scrolling through this would be long back in the day. It's just crazy thinking about how long it's been. But yeah, this is really short of an explanation for a character and what they can do for compared to most characters. Or maybe it's just all kind of compacted. I don't know. It's just the way they got everything. It's very simple to understand. Most of his stuff relies on his debuffs, aka his bleed. He does a lot of them, but they don't do a lot of damage. They do a sad amount of damage, which, you know, is fine, whatever. Most of his damage comes from his special attacks. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Most, if not all, probably 90% of his damage comes from special attacks. And like 9% comes from 9.9% comes from hits, and then he's got the 0.1 for bleed or whatever. But yeah, I put in a synergy to give him a bleed on every parry, which only lasts 10 seconds, but it's long enough. He relies heavily on the bleed, so if a character cannot bleed, you need to have him duped in order to get enough debuffs to be, I want to say, to do any real damage. I don't think there's any other way. Even if you use Resonate, you're still not going to get but a couple debuffs. I'm just thinking about it. Let me think here. Yeah, there's really no way. You can use Mr. Fantastic to get an easy, 3 or 4, maybe 5 on him, max, with the Resonate. Yeah, there's literally no other debuffs. Yeah, it's all really his bleed. His bleed, when he gets 10 of them, he puts a, what do you call it? A Petrify on them, and Petrify really fuels his abilities, basically. So, if you use Mr. Fantastic with him and you put the debuff on him, the Petrify, it will count just like it does here. From what I've seen, it does the same exact thing, even if you don't have enough debuffs. As long as they have a Petrify, it doesn't say his specific Petrify. So, yeah, it's just any Petrify debuff, and you get the bonuses. But the only problem is the damage is still based on how many debuffs you have. So, for example, his L2 being, in shorter fights, this will be the better one to use. Longer fights, the L3 by far is better. So the L2, when you use it, you're going to lose all your debuffs. The L3, when you use it, you keep all your debuffs. So yeah, the L2, for example, if you haven't petrified, of course you're going to want to do that before you hit them. With this, the second hit's guaranteed crit, and it's going to be a massive hit. It increases attack by 1522 for each debuff, so that's about, I want to say, 50%, a little bit less than 50% of his attack. And yeah, assuming you have the Petrify, that means you have 10 debuffs. So yeah, 15,022 for, just 10 debuffs, plus the Petrify, I guess, is 11, so a little more than that. He just does a lot of special damage. Everything relies on that. So he does have some really, really, really good utility as well. So his main utility is his Psionic Glide. I didn't want to start with that because it's not the main source of his damage. So basically he just dashes forward, he's unblockable, and he passively makes them miss. for his first medium attack, and it gains 9,512 attack rating. So when you use this attack, it goes on cooldown. It also inflicts a debuff, a bleed, which is, that's cool, an extra one. It can be inflicted through a block, and when the opponent's recovering from a special, if you use it during that period, it counts as 4 bleeds. So you definitely want to try and do the Psionic Glide bleed whenever they finish a special attack. So he the unique utility he has here. So he gains a fervor buff, right? This stops him from using his Psionic Glide, which sucks. But when he has it nullified by like Rimtra, some garbage champion like that, or it fails to ability accuracy, or it's replaced with identical. If it gets nullified or anything, it turns into a passive, and when it's passive, you don't you can get your Psionic Glide back over and over again. I'm assuming it has to keep nullifying it. I'm not sure. So it also delays for 1.5 seconds. You'd have to actually test it, but I have a feeling that when it's active, you just basically get a passive one. And I think they have to keep nullifying it, probably, is how it would work. So yeah, if you do have it though, like, you can just keep dashing into them and hitting them with the Psionic Glide, which is crazy just thinking about it, because he does do good damage on that hit. His other stuff is his other utility, I guess, is he lowers regen and ability power rate 5%. The regen's 10% and the ability power is 5%. So the max is 50% and for ability power, and then the regen can be 100%. If you have the Despair Mastery, they get rid of it, and it lowers regen and ability power rate by 5% for each rank. So they basically take it away from you, which hurts you if you only have 1 point in it. But it does give you more ability power rate control. So yeah, if you put 3 in there, you get 15% more, which will give you 65% control, which is, better than nothing, right? So he also gets the Petrify, which is 25%. It's paused when you have 10 or more debuffs, so it just stays on there. So when they're petrified, for each debuff, you get combat power rate of 1% up to 30 debuffs. So yeah, it's awesome. And also another way to get rid of your fervor debuff is to use the L1, which is also a good way to build your debuffs. So you want to spam the L1 a couple times, use the L2, boom, done. That's how most fights will go. Longer fights, you can spam the L1 a couple times, use the L3, maybe go back and forth. And yeah, that's how you'll do that. Very aggressive playstyle, that's what he requires. He does have this stupid ass ability, the Undying. So whenever he takes direct damage, he regenerates up to 50% of it. Against skill champions, it has no effect, basically. I don't know why they had to say it's reduced by 50%. I guess it's 20. So I guess it still works against skill, but it would be like 25% if you had max sig on them. So that's sad. It's already sad. But yeah. So when you're taking it from any source, gain a non-second Undying passive that falls off after not taking direct damage for 2 seconds. Cooldown's 8 seconds, so it can't keep reapplying. He's just not the one to use for direct damage, guys. Honestly, if you dupe him for that, you're not really duping him for that. You're duping him for the rupture, for sure. So yeah, when he does do the ruptures on his dupe, 100% chance to inflict a rupture whenever they're immune to a bleed. That's at max sig, unfortunately. So it is a little worse than the bleed unless you have max sig. If you have max sig, then it copies the bleed exactly. So it's just like having a bleed, so you can fight bleed immune champions. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. You get the point. I decided to use him with Mr. Fantastic just because he goes perfectly with Mr. Fantastic. And he has a good synergy with Blade as well, that he manifests on Blade. He also gives Blade something good. Let me show you. So for Blade, damaging debuffs on the opponent lower ability power rate by 5%, max at 10. So you can lower the ability power rate of other champions by 50% max, which is definitely doable. You can do it. It's not easy, but you can do it. You can keep them around 10. I've already tested it. It's difficult, but yeah, it's doable. You gotta have deep wounds. But yeah, let me just use him. I'll show you what's up. He's also really fun to play, just like as a side note. So this is his attack. I gave him special attack damage increase because it just made the most sense. He does all special damage, so yeah. Here, I'll turn off the mics because you guys won't be able to hear me anyway, even if I was talking. But I'll show you how to fight in like a longer fight, for example. But yeah, guys, enjoy. Thank you. As you can see, he's awesome. So yeah, guys, definitely use him. The only bad news is he is a science champion without anything besides petrify. So yeah, he kind of lags and like he doesn't have a slow or anything like that. But I'm sure in the future they'll add synergies for that kind of stuff. But yeah, take him for what he's worth. He's a damage dealer. That's pure and simple. If you're a fan of Ghost, a fan of all those like Sunspot, all that garbage, he's definitely gonna be the one for you. Personally, I'm not a fan of those champions, and I like him just because he's different from them, and his mechanics are much easier, and they don't rely on parry or any weird shit. So yeah, guys, just let me know what you think. Later.